The Precinct, a passionately made interactive 80s cop show that plays and feels like it looks. Between the perfectly on-point soundtrack to the gritty and dirty-looking streets below, this game knows what it wants to be, but does it deliver? And ultimately, is it good? Stick around and find out.
Central, get the cell ready. We got you, scumbag.
First of all, what is it? The Precinct has been described as like GTA 1, but from the cop's perspective. But really, the only similarities between this and GTA 1 is the top-down driving aspect, and that's pretty much where it stops. To be honest, it plays more like a cop sim with a mediocre story and your typical cop characters that fulfill all the usual 80s-style cop tropes. As a fresh out-of-the-academy rookie, a prodigy, following in your late father's footsteps, you rise up the ranks in the ACPD and work to take down top crooks, gang members, and also issue as many parking tickets as you can. Car chases, gun shootouts, foot pursuits, helicopter pursuits, undercover street racing, evidence handling, and even paperwork. Yep, it's a cop sim. But unlike games like LA Noire, you're not here to watch people's facial expressions and figure out if they're lying or not. You leave that to the detectives. You're a beat cop, and as the game points out to you more than a few times, you're here to do the nitty-gritty, dirty, mundane, and basic jobs that the real cops can't be bothered to do.
You're on what we like to call run around and deal with crap we don't want to do.
So mount up with your lazy and disillusioned partner, Kelly, and hit the streets. Someone's got to clean up this city, and if you have to do it one parking fine at a time, so be it. Let's talk about how it looks and feels. I believe the top-down nature of the game is a design choice made by budget rather than ambition. I think if the devs had the resources and budget to make this a first or third-person game, they would have. I've not got a problem with the top-down nature of the game, but parts of it seem to require you to have more precision and finesse than a top-down game typically allows, meaning you can find yourself fumbling interactions quite often, such as taking a perp out of a car only to put them back in again because the interactor button didn't move to what you were looking at, or having trouble retrieving that evidence because another interact point is too close to it, or just silly things like being unable to arrest a drunk driver who flipped his car and is now stood on top of it. And you guessed it, no, I can't climb up there to arrest him. It ends up creating this immersion-breaking moments where you're trying to execute cool cop moves only to be thwarted by the clumsy top-down controls.
You're out of options, dirtwad. He's crashed. Punk, that's enough. Chase him.
That being said, when it works, it is really great. Pulling off a perfect drift or getting that spiked strip to hit, tackling a runner and hitting those perfect shots feels really great, and perhaps that's because it's normally so tricky and finicky to do. If it all went smoothly all the time, then would it ever feel special?
Got a narcotics transaction in progress?
Affirmative.
The game looks the part. The streets are awash with litter and worn down, well, everything. There's neons, steam vents, debris in the wind. They got that 80s troubled American city vibe going strong, and the soundtrack backs that up perfectly. The level of detail and passion that has clearly gone into the world design here just leaves me wishing I could go down into it though. And floating up here on the top down once again leaves me wanting. One thing I will point out, however, is the NPCs. As long as you don't look at them directly, it's fine. But sometimes they seem to have all the intelligence and programming of the NPCs in GTA 1. Maybe that's on purpose though, because there's more than a few Easter eggs and nods to GTA in this game. So what can you do in the Precinct? As a cop sim, expect to be arresting lots of perps. But it's not a free-for-all. You've got to know your cop stuff. Fortunately, there's a handy cop book that tells you how to cop. This requires a bit of concentration, because the more charges and actions you take correctly, the more XP you get. Charge them incorrectly, and you lose XP. XP, as you've probably guessed, is how you unlock new parts of the city, new assignments and patrol types, new weapons, and cars. Along with XP, you also get upgrade points, which you can spend in this tech tree to unlock new support options, combat abilities and passives, and so forth. And the game keeps pushing you for more and more XP with a scoreboard at the end of each shift. Your performance is compared with other cops in the department. Damn Selby! Out on the streets, depending on your assignment today, you could be issuing parking tickets for violations, pulling over speeders on the road, or getting into full-on gang shootouts. The crime is varied, for sure, and you've got to have your wits about you. And always be on the lookout for dropped evidence, or tally up the different crimes the perp is committing during the chase, and at the end of it. Getting all the charges right and seeing that arrest summary and all the XP is satisfying. You've got a constant watch on the XP you've gained so far, along with the time till your shift ends. And once your shift ends, you've got to head back to the precinct. And if you take too long because you're issuing more parking fines on the way, trying to pad your stats, you get penalized for unsanctioned overtime. Yep, it's a cop sim. Still, the gameplay loop of pursuing, charging, and arresting perps is pretty satisfying, and I found myself winding away hours just taking shift after shift, trying to beat goddamn Selby on the XP summary. The really cool action is in the car chases, though. You've got to keep a close pursuit to build up pursuit points, and then you can use those pursuit points to call in backup in the form of an extra car, spike strips, helicopters, and even more stuff once you've unlocked it. The chases are not easy. Sometimes their cars are faster than yours, and if you lose sight of them before you can call in backup, you can easily lose them in the city's side streets. Losing a pursuit costs you XP, and one thing you need to do as soon as you can is call in backup. An AI cruiser will follow that sucker until he explodes from damage, so even if you take a wrong turn or suck at driving, you can track him back down over the radio and rejoin the chase. The trickiest arrests is when there are multiple perps. Having a partner would come in handy here, you would think. But sometimes Kelly just gets lost or forgets he's a cop or something. Sometimes he's useful and actually takes care of one perp while you chase down another. But I wouldn't rely on it. Again, if you can call in backup, do so. Because if a perp escapes, you lose XP. To get full XP out of the arrest, you need to ID them, brisk them, then charge them with each crime. You can delegate this to Kelly, but you won't get much XP. And if the other perp is running away, that's all a little tricky to do. Sometimes you have to make a call on which one to chase. For example, I had a guy throw litter out of his car. I blipped my sirens to pull him over, and another car just did a runner. So the littering scumbag got lucky, because the other guy that ran turned out to be a drunk driver with a bunch of contraband in his trunk. I guess that's just life as a beat cop. You see all sorts.
Keep an eye out.
What's the story like? No spoilers here, don't worry. It's fine. It's basically a cheap 80s cop show. There's gangs, detectives trying to bring them down, there's dirty cops, snitches and informants. There's undercover street racing. It keeps you moving through the game at a reasonable pace, without feeling forced or rushed. But don't expect any moments of, "Ooh, no way!" It pretty much ticks off all the usual cop-related story tropes. And you know what? That's fine. I think this game is more about the action of being a beat cop, and not really here to tell a groundbreaking story. Leave that to the RPGs. The characters are pretty much the same vein. They're fine. None of them are particularly memorable, and they all play their part well enough. Again, ticking all the boxes of typical cop characters you would find in an 80s cop show. The voice acting is welcome. It's much better than having to read pages of text. The quality of the voice acting itself varies from pretty good to pantomime levels of cheese.
To the Crimson Serpent.
So I could prove they're dirty.
This may come as a shock, Danny, but we already know the Crimson Serpent commits crimes.
There seems to be a stark difference in the skills of one actor to another, but again, I'm not here for the story, characters, or voice acting. It all serves a purpose, and it's all good enough.
Yeah, I don't write the messages. I just read them.
Come on, kid. Guess I'd rather torpedo my evening than torpedo my pension.
So, is it good? Well, the Precinct clocks in at around 12 hours of gameplay, which can be done quicker if you just burn through the story, or longer if you keep clocking in more patrol shifts. It's currently on sale on Steam, PlayStation Store, and Xbox Store, and costs around £25. and at the time of recording it's also on a 15% sale on Steam. Given the nature and style of the game, and the reasonably short playtime, I feel the price tag is a little steep for most. That being said, given the clear passion and effort that the 4-man dev team have put into the game, I can see why they went with that price tag. And we really should be supporting these little studios over the big ugly AAA studios that vomit garbage every year for £60 or more. Sorry, I got a little ranty there. The point is, the Precinct is a fun little game that will keep you entertained, if not a little frustrated at times, for a good 12 hours or more. It's a pretty unique experience that does scratch an itch I didn't realize I had, with some really cool moments. The otherwise satisfying gameplay loop is, however, marred by lazy and forgetful AI, dodgy physics, and the limited and frustrating top-down orientation that leads to clumsy controls in gameplay at times. Depending on your frustration tolerance, this may be a deal breaker for you. The game seriously shines, however, during car chases and pursuits. This is easily the most fun feature, and is a big plus point in my book. That all being said, I would say the game is good, but I would pick it up on sale, maybe when it's £10. The streets of Averno City will wait for you. If you've enjoyed this review, let me know down in the comments. Consider hitting that thumbs up button, and if you want to see more from me, I'd really appreciate a sub. But thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section down below, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Until then, take care. Bye bye.